Very excited right now to be joined by the third-year head coach of the Davidson Wildcats, Coach Rucker Taylor. Coach, welcome back into the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be back on.
Absolutely. We enjoyed our visit last year before what turned out to be, 15 to 20 game, depending on the school schedule or season, and crazy times that we're living in, no doubt. But just talk about the craziness of the last 10 months and how your program has handled the adversity and maybe gotten better as a result.
Yeah, obviously for everyone, all across the world, man, it's been a weird and probably for most unprecedented times. I think our college has done a really good job of allowing us to be on campus. It certainly hasn't been easy. Certainly, there's been some challenges with that. It's certainly a different day-to-day lifestyle for I think for all the students that are back. But as probably as most athletes know, there's sacrifices you make if you want to be a Division I athlete. There's sacrifices you make if you're a professional athlete and you really value what you're doing. So I think for the most part, our guys have done a pretty good job with it. We're not immune to some of the things that are going on. We've certainly had to maybe alter some things because of different situations, different points during the year. I think what was really fortunate though, once our season got shut down last year, as the rest of college baseball did, most of our guys were going and able to play summer baseball, and I think that was huge for them on many levels to get a chance to be a young adult, be a young athlete, and just be outside and move around and compete. I thought was huge, and it probably cost us. There's probably a learning curve with us getting back to campus, and our strength coach made a point to me in about August. He's like, Rock, your guys are probably going to have the biggest adjustment. What do you mean? Is, well, think about it, 75% of them played summer ball. There was no COVID protocols this summer. From talking with our guys, I think some teams gave lip service to it. We had four guys that were at a program that two of their teammates just didn't show up one day, and they asked why. Okay, their contracts are up. Well, they get on their phones and find out that night via text that those two guys had tested positive for COVID, and the program they're with didn't even tell them that. So I think there's definitely a learning curve of getting back, and hey, you do have to follow the rules here if you want to stay here. But other than that, I think the discipline that maybe comes from that, I think the appreciation for, man, it's an early morning lift, but you know what? I get to go do this. That maybe some other people aren't getting this opportunity to work out today or this week or this month or this year. I think it maybe makes the little things you appreciate a little bit more. And heck, for us, as coaches, I think we try to provide them an environment where, one, they're as safe as they can be, but two, they get out there and compete and really just enjoy the game of baseball. And it's certainly, especially at some of your higher levels, that baseball is definitely a business. It's definitely a profession. But at the end of the day, it's a game where it's a ball, it's a bat, it's 60 feet 6 inches and 90 feet between the bases, and most of us grew up because we played the game because we loved it, not because we were trying to get a scholarship or X, Y, or Z. So I think I've seen the appreciation for the game itself maybe grow in our guys, and I hope the discipline from all this is something that carries over on the field and the wins and losses, and more important probably for them long term is just in their day to day life, knowing, hey, I can get through this circus of a year and a half, whatever it ends up being. It's to put a lot of things in perspective for them, hopefully.
Yeah, no doubt. And kind of shifting, talking back to last spring, you guys went 13-3. You closed the year 7-6. Excuse me, with a 7-6 win over number 10 Duke. There at Davidson, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that was downtown. But but nonetheless, just an excellent start for your ball club. It's a shame that we were unable to see what happened or could happen, and whether it could have materialized into a magical run of the super regionals like the club a few years ago that you were part of as an assistant. But just talk about some of the key contributors returning from last year's ball club, and maybe some guys that you wouldn't have had back under normal circumstances if it were not for the eligibility rule changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a heck of a way to end the year, and Duke and Coach Pollard, Coach Pollard's actually a Davidson alum. They've got a heck of a program. I think they were going to have a heck of a year themselves. But for us, it was downtown, the Charlotte Knights ballpark. And I think, as I told you last year, just the job the Knights and their staff and their program as a whole do. I mean, it's incredible. They make you feel like you're a minor league player. They make you feel like you're the most important game that they have at any point in that year. And it's really, really a special deal for us to get to go down there. So we were incredibly appreciative of that. Had we known it was the last game of the year, We certainly stayed down there, enjoyed the post game spread that they provided us. We, certainly relished. I think some guys went back on the field and took some photos and all that kind of stuff. But just the walk off home run. Was a senior that hit it for us, Brett Centracchio. We had a senior that led off the inning with a hit by pitch. He stayed tough, stood in there, Alex Veggie Johnson. So for those older guys to have that kind of lasting memory, a walk off home run, which is obviously a pretty cool thing in the sport of baseball, and it was really a special moment, probably one that I'll hold pretty highly for me for a long, long time. Speaking of those two seniors there, Davidson doesn't have graduate school. So we're in a unique situation, unlike a lot of our counterparts, where we're not worried about roster numbers the next couple of years because our guys are going to graduate here in 4 years. And they're going to move on. Brett's the first baseman that hit that home run. Brett's at North Carolina right now. Our second baseman, Matt Fry's at Michigan, and he actually had an injury that's keep him out this year. But from speaking with their coaching staff, they were incredibly excited about what he was going to be able to do for them. We've got Walker and Wally's down at Spring Hill College in Mobile, and the rest of our guys are they joined the workforce. We got a couple guys that are in finance, a couple guys are in law school, and life's kind of moved on for them, which stinks, especially to end that way with a shortened season. But again, with a magical kind of end, I think that leaves you with a good taste in your mouth, hopefully. So for us, really the only guy that we're going to get back that's maybe a little bit different is Alex Veggie Johnson, who was the guy that led off that inning with a hit by pitch to get on base and was the tying run on Brett's home run. He had a medical red shirt. So he had kind of planned academically the possibility of a fifth year. And then once everything happened, we had to ask the school for permission, and very appreciative of them that they had a workable academic plan for Alex. And he really wanted to keep playing baseball. He also wanted to double major. He's got a job shadow internship opportunity that he's kind of able to make happen out of this. So for us, we're very excited to have him back. But for the rest of the team, it's the original group we thought we were going to have, which I think is it's exciting. I think it provides a little bit of a challenge in some ways, that we're going to be playing a lot of teams with graduate transfers, with older players. But I think that's just part of the competition and what makes the game of baseball so great. So a lot of the same faces we saw last year. Our 3 weekend starters last year were all sophomores. Those guys are all back. That's Gabe Levy, Blake Healy, and Alex Fenton. All three of those guys are guys that I think a lot of the professional scouts have shown interest in this really the last 8-9 months starting in the summer. We'll see what happens on that side for those guys. Positionally, we lost a couple guys that were really good players. Flip side of that, we got Ruben Fontes, who led Atlantic 10 in 2019 in home runs. He's back, and he was off to a great start again last year in 2020 and has been really good this fall. He's got a decent number of pro teams. I've been out to see him. Parker Nolan and Trevor Candelaria are two other returning outfielders that Trevor played a ton as a freshman, was an everyday guy, had some injuries he fought through last year. Parker was an everyday guy last year for the first time out of the Wilmington area, and had a really showed some flashes of exciting things. We've got another guy from the kind of over your area that's heck, his nickname's Party Hank Kohler. He played a lot as a freshman, the kind of second half of the early part of the season last year. So a lot of returning experience in the outfield, maybe not quite as much as the infield, but we do have Alex back at third. Jacob Pendleiter, who's a freshman from Hawaii, was the everyday shortstop last year, and he was able to play this summer. Had a really good summer in the Northwoods League. Second base is an open competition. Have an older guy, Matt Gravely, that's played some in the past that's competing there. He looks really good. First base, kind of the same deal, open competition. A couple of different guys that are possibilities there. There's a couple of freshmen that have had impressive falls that might end up at that spot. And then behind the plate, we lost our senior, Zach Nussbaum from Seattle, who's a tremendous defensive catcher. Kind of his backup two guys last year were John Hosmer and Garrett Browder. Both of those guys, I think, have really progressed this fall, both offensively and defensively. And we have a freshman from the Winston area, Michael Carrico, that had a really impressive fall for a freshman, and we think can help back there too. So it's some new faces. We have 6 freshmen. I think all those guys have a chance to play, whether it's play a lot this year or help in certain roles. I think you'll definitely see some new faces out there. Then to kind of circle back to the pitching side, we've got one transfer in from another school that set out last year, Brian Craven, that we think will help a lot in the bullpen. And really, we lost, I think, 4 innings from guys thrown last year. So I think our pitching staff has a lot of experience. There's a lot of different looks. We have a large sophomore class that kind of got their feet wet as freshmen. Bennett Flynn was a freshman All-American last year by one publication. And, those guys are all back, hopefully better. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out as sophomores, but I think it's a deep staff that's, we're fortunate to have, and it's deep because it's guys that we recruited and developed, not necessarily guys we were able to bring as graduate transfers. So I think that's, there's a little bit of a special thing with that being kind of homegrown guys.
Certainly an interesting dynamic and variable that you referenced a few minutes ago, as far as those guys not being able to come back because of Davidson not having graduate studies. That was something now that you brought it up, I remembered it, but I think you could turn what is kind of a negative, them not being able to return to your ball club, into a positive, being able to point out they're going to the likes of North Carolina and Michigan, programs that are having so much success. And it talks about the type of talent you and your staff have assembled there at Davidson.
Well, yeah, it is. And, it's the best thing for those guys. Brett and I had the conversation that he had interest from a lot of people, and Matt did too. And it was, I'm going to give a quick sidebar. So Matt, who's at Michigan, injury that's going to keep him out, and they were adamant that he was going to really help them this year. He calls me because I thought I was like their agent trying to talk with different schools for them and try to help them filter what was maybe a recruiting speech, but versus what actually accurate. And Matt called me and said he's talking to somebody, and the guy goes, "Hey, Matt, this is Coach Kane from LSU," and Matt didn't really catch the whole introduction, so he starts Googling LSU Eunice, LSU Shreveport, and about 5 minutes in the conversation, Coach goes, Coach Maneri really liked your video on synergy. So, if you're interested, we probably, want him to talk with you. So Matt's like, holy cow, here I am, a guy that was never really an everyday starter until his junior year here at Davidson. And he worked his tail off and made himself into a really, really good college player. He goes, I've got LSU that's actively recruiting me. And he's Googling, LSU Eunice, LSU Shreveport, which are great programs in their own right, but probably not the national prestige of, the LSU in Baton Rouge. So him and I have gotten a good laugh about that many times. But both him and Matt and Brett both had a lot of opportunities. And it does speak to kind of what they made themselves as players, and the academic things that they did to allow themselves to both get into. Matt got into Michigan graduate school, Brett got into University of North Carolina. They don't give out those acceptance letters, so I think it's a testament to those guys both as students and also as athletes. They did a lot of things right in both those cases. So yeah, it's great for those guys. Brett told me, he's like, Coach, if North Carolina didn't work out, I've got other options. He had some other ACC options, some legitimate schools. He's like, I'm just going to come back. I'm like, Brett, you need to go get grad school somewhere. I really appreciate it. Best thing for you, you're more than welcome back. But man, the best thing is get that graduate degree and keep playing, because I think you can play for a little bit longer. So it's great for them. Stinks for us because I'd love to have those guys back for a lot of different reasons, but it's the best thing for them for sure.
Yeah, that's an awesome story regarding LSU, and certainly one you'll be able to use for years to come. Just showing players, hey, if you work hard, just because you're not starting now doesn't mean things can't help you down the road.
Oh, absolutely, and that's I guess the nice thing about this whole situation is our current guys, the sophomore, junior, senior class, they know that they've got an extra year of graduate school, that's or extra year of eligibility granted by the NCAA. So we've been able to we really started last summer helping those guys kind of craft their, what video they need to have, what schools maybe they need to target. And, a couple of the guys that I've mentioned already, some of those older guys, they've had some conversations with schools. A lot of schools are now, we're in a little bit of a numbers crunch for next year with a 40-man roster for Division One. Us Davidson, we're not, because we don't have those graduate guys to worry about. But I think a couple of our guys are going to have some pretty good opportunities. If the professional side doesn't work out, and then certainly that junior class, both positionally and on the mound, I think all of those guys will have opportunities somewhere if that's the route they choose, and if they're not playing professionally.
Final question for you, Coach. Talk about how the Atlantic 10's handling scheduling. There's so many dynamics and variables at play there, in terms of testing protocols, so on and so forth. So how's the A10 doing it? And then who are you playing in the non-conference?
Whew. You've asked a question that's been about the bane of my existence the last couple of weeks. We are waiting for a finalized A10 schedule. We as a league decided about 6-7 months ago to drop some conference weekends, maybe to limit travel, which I think at that time was limiting travel is not a terrible idea. A lot of other conferences actually added weekends, so they knew that what their conference testing policies would be. They want to give themselves to, hey, if our league's playing each other, we know we're going to play. We're not worried if maybe an Ivy League doesn't play or if another league limits the number of games. So for us, we're in a little bit of catch-up mode, trying to figure out a couple weekends. Now for us specifically, we do have some out-of-conference options to get our normal allotment games in, which is tremendous. Working through a few of those things really the last month or so. Hopefully get a final answer from our league sooner than later so we can nail down some things with those non-conference opponents. But for us, it's a very similar non-conference schedule. It's actually probably we're traveling a touch more because we had some home games canceled because other leagues added weekends. So we are actually going to be at a Coastal Carolina tournament that we were incredibly excited to have the opportunity to be at. And I think those guys are putting us up at a place on the water, and just looking forward to one, traveling to a beautiful area, but two, for us, we're going to see three really really good teams and really good historic programs. So I think that's an exciting challenge. And then for us, I think we'll travel down to Citadel for a non-conference weekend. Obviously, a great area down there. Hopefully have good weather. So there's a couple, that relatively short trips that maybe we wouldn't have taken years past. So we try to stay at home as much as possible with our academic requirements. But I think this year, it's just going to be fluid. I was talking to somebody in our administration this morning about some payment for umpires, and we talked about nimbleness and fluidity in this whole situation. So for us, we're going to at some point have 55-ish games on the schedule. And, due to medical reasons, we might have to adjust some of them. For conference reasons, we might have to adjust some of them. But big picture, I think the exciting thing for us, the program, and, heck, really the guys had a season that was cut short last year, is the expectation is to at least try to play 56. Our league's short. They've shrunk our postseason tournament from 7 teams to 4 teams, and we've gone from a kind of a round robin non-divisional format to a 2-division format for our conference for baseball, which our Southern Conference we think is a really really good. If you just took that division and called it a full conference, we think that's a really strong mid-major schedule. So it's going to be maybe the most challenging schedule we've had in a long time, which I think is exciting. Again, you're playing some great venues. The Wake Forest, a Duke, a South Carolina are all either a home and home or a one-off game, plus that Coastal deal. I think that a lot of excitement within that schedule.
Yeah, no doubt. So many things at work, and this one thing that has been a common point of note with the individuals I've talked to and the coaches around the state. Just so many quality teams and programs in the state of North Carolina, and then that's not even going down into North and South. I mean, excuse me, into Virginia and South Carolina, with the likes of Coastal Carolina, and obviously South Carolina, Clemson, etc.
No, I mean it's if you're a fan of college baseball, if you're a fan of just college athletics in general, there's probably not a better place to live. Just with as you said, the number of teams. I think I talked about this last. I think there's 19 Division Ones within the state. Obviously, you travel to South Carolina and Virginia, the number just it skyrockets on you, and it's a lot of really good baseball. And it's not just the Division One level. You look at what Catawba's done, historically there. I mean, that's a heck of a program. You look at Spartanburg Methodist at the junior college level, really, really impressive what they've done there. So from top to bottom, if you think of your flagships, whether it's South Carolina or Clemson in that state, Wofford, who we have on the schedule this year in a home and home, Coach Interdono there's done a heck of a job. They've won 30 plus games, a lot. You look at a Winthrop, who we had a home and home with, and their schedule changed, so we're not able to play them this year. But Coach Regionalis there, I mean, they're going to be really talented. They got some top 40 national votes. They think they're going to have a really, really good team. I think they got all 7 of their seniors, I think, came back from what was a talented team last year. And then, heck, Coastal Carolina, I think, won the national championship, and within the last 4 or 5 years at this point. A College of Charleston, the success they've had there traditionally. Citadel, has been to Omaha before. Just I'm leaving some out, but I mean that's a heck of a state right there. Then you come to the North Carolina, and you kind of touched on. I mean the North Carolina and NC State, a Duke, a Wake, four of those Power Five schools that are tremendous success historically and especially in recent years. UNC Charlotte, so with Coach Woodard, new coach down there, they've got a lot of new guys in that they're very excited about. App State, Kermit's got them going the last couple of years. Just a lot of good baseball in this area. And I'm leaving out 10, 15 schools right there that within the state that are really successful and are well coached. And you obviously see some of the funding that goes on for facilities that, the SEC and I think the ACC certainly getting there. But some of these mid-major places, you go up to Virginia and you look at Liberty's, what they've got. Holy cow. I mean, it's a lot of really exciting baseball. And, I don't know what the fan situation is going to completely look like. I don't know if anybody does at this point, but, hopefully those families, those individuals that want to get out and watch baseball will be able to this spring and certainly enjoy the day at the ballpark.
Yeah, as the weather starts to warm up, as we move into the latter half of the season, hopefully fans will be able to get back out to the ballpark. But Coach, we really appreciate the visit this morning. Always enjoy having you on the program, and we'd love to have you back on maybe later in the season.
Absolutely, would love to, Absolutely appreciate the invite, and I think it's pretty cool what you guys are doing, talking with everyone, and hopefully it's enjoyed by the audience.